Introduction to what?
Document.
Docs. Google Docs. And Docs is an app, but we consider it a sub-app. Why is that? Right, it's in Drive. Docs is part of Drive. And what are the key things? Well, before we get into Docs, let's go back to our other apps. So this is Docs. And Docs is a sub-app of Drive. What are the other apps? Calendar.
Maps.
Maps. Gmail.
Google Plus.
I heard YouTube.
Google Plus.
Okay, Google Plus.
Chrome.
Voice.
So that should be it, right? 1, 2, 3, 4,
Do we
5,
consider
6,
Sheets
7,
to be a
8.
sub-app?
So,
Sheets is got.
so Sheets
It's a whole-
is a sub-app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's another sub-app of Drive?
Forms.
Forms. Okay, what else?
Presentation.
Presentation. What is presentation like in Office? What's the comparable?
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint, right, okay. Okay, so this week, we're focused on a sub-app, not the app. Why are we focused on the sub-app? Why should we be focused on a sub-app?
Because we use it all the time.
Because we use it all the time, that's right. This is the thing you should, whenever you have to type up a document or a note or anything, at this point, you should just get in the habit of, boom, opening Docs. So we need to make sure in Drive is that everybody has offline enabled. Because if you have offline enabled in Drive, what does that mean?
You have docs.
Yeah. Yeah. So you could be taking your notes in the morning on our TED Talks in Docs because it's offline. That means you could have access to your white paper. You could start your white paper on Monday and just keep adding to it. Okay, that's what that means. So we want to make sure that we can access Docs offline before Friday. And the way to start with that is, how many people here have offline access to Docs? Okay, how many people don't? Okay. So the people who don't, you should look to the person on your right or your left first, because in our Navy SEALs learn one, do one, teach one approach, when they show you, that's when they learn the most. Okay. If you can't figure it out yourself. Okay. So these are the apps and the sub app. This is what we're focusing on this week. Our goal is to be a power user or a professional in Docs.
Usually in Drive. Because it's on the-
Okay, now Docs, and what's the comparable to Docs? If you don't use Docs, what do you use? Word.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, now Word has, let's see, I'm gonna do it this way. In terms of features, who has more features, Word or Docs?
Word.
Probably Word.
Word. Okay, Word has a lot more features. What you need to understand about Docs is in Docs, you can do 80% of what you need to do 80% of the time. Okay, so this is like, you know, would you rather drive a Ferrari or a Toyota? Ferrari. It's a lot more fun, does a lot more, right? When it comes to ease of use and driving and maintenance, would you rather have a Toyota or Ferrari? Toyota. Toyota, you just need gas, oil, water, and it'll run forever. At least the old Toyotas. Ferrari, every time you drive it, you have to be prepared to spend money to do something. It's a lot more fun, but it's a lot more work. In California, they learn Word. Here,
At Larson.
yeah. Their thing is Word. Here, we don't do Word, we do Docs. We started doing Word, but we can't afford to spend 2 hours a day on Microsoft. We have too much stuff that we need to do. And a lot more of their people in California know Word. They've used Word. They have a rudimentary understanding of Word. So they do Word, we don't do Word.
What's more effective in the workforce?
Okay, so compatibility. Okay, so Docs is completely compatible with Word. If you go to work someplace and everybody knows Word and you don't know Word, is it a problem?
Yep.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Last year at this time, it was a problem. Now you get the Word document. Somebody sends you a Word document in email. What do?
You go over to Doc. You should switch over to Google Docs.
You have an email that has an attachment that's a Word doc.
You
You
open
can
it
take
up.
it right to,
Just open it up.
give us,
Okay, so in Google, there's always more than one way to do things. What you should do, the best practices thing is when you see the attachment, when you hover over it, it gives you a choice of saving it to your drive. Instead of opening it and downloading it to the computer you're on, you can save it to your drive. And then when you start that process, it lets you save it to a particular folder. And you can rename it. You can do all kinds of stuff. So again, remember the key thing about Google, our Google apps, is you can use them anywhere, except not so fast. What if you got an email and you downloaded the file to your computer you were working on? Where is it now? It's on that computer.
Yeah.
If you download it, you still have the email. You could go into your email again in the future and re-download it to the next computer, but that gets kind of messy if you have computers that you've downloaded all kinds of files on. It's better just to save it to your drive. Get in the habit, you get an email, there's an attachment, save it to your drive, to the folder you want it to be in. Now, once it's in that folder, you can open it. You can open it in preview mode just by clicking on it. And we're going to go through all this with examples, but you can open it. You can view it. Can't edit it, but you can view it. And that's where the document pops up with a black around it, black background. If you do that, you click on the More button, then you can open it as, and it'll say as a Google Doc. And then you can open it as a Google Doc. You work on it. And then when you're done, you can leave it as a Google Doc, or you can save it as a Word file. So if you work in a company, you go to work in a company, you're the only person who knows Docs, everybody else is using Word, are you at a disadvantage? No, you're not. You can do 80% of what they can do 80% of the time. You can't do the really fancy stuff or the really complex stuff, but you're probably aren't going to need that. You're not at a disadvantage because you can open it up as a doc, you can work on it, and you can save it back as a Word document so they can work on it. How do you handle your job interview when the employer says, do you know Word?
yes, hold on. The email said that.
No, you don't know Word, you know Docs.
8%, I know 8% of it, right?
Just say, I know Docs, It's fully compatible, and it's actually a lot better, and it's free.
But it's 100% easier to learn and use.
Yeah. Okay, it's free.
And yours you think
Is
about
Word
saving
free?
money.
No, employers have to spend a couple $100 a year upgrading their Word stuff. And some of them don't want to spend that every year, so they're on Office 2010, which came out when? In 2010. What year is this? 2015.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, so compatibility, this is completely compatible with Word. Word is not compatible with Docs. You don't care though. As you say to somebody, send me a Word file. I have no problem. They say, send me a doc file. And I think that you can do things in Word and you can open it, but it's not 100% compatible. Ease of use. It's easier to use Docs than it is Word. Again, it's easier to drive a Toyota than a Ferrari. It's more fun to drive a Ferrari. It's more fun to use Word if you're doing really clever, creative, fancy type stuff. But it takes more work to know how to be able to do that stuff. And we're not at that level. So we can add here learning. It's way easier to learn Docs than it is Word. Once you know how to do Docs and you want to learn other features in Word, it's easier to learn to do that because you have a basic understanding of how to do things. So for example, making fancy tables in Word, making tables in Word that you can't do in Docs, you can only do simple tables in Docs. In Word, you can do really not simple tables. If you understand how to do it here, but you want to have it more fancy, it's easy to learn how to do a few more things in Word to make it work versus learning all of the stuff in Word that you're not going to use and not remember, then it's cluttering your brain, you're going to get confused. Collaboration. Now this is like a to infinity, much better. Docs is made for collaboration. What do I mean by that?
Others can work on it.
Multiple people can be working at the same time. At the same time. Now, when you have 20 people working on a document at once, it gets a little bit hairy.
So is this like when you call tech support and you don't know what's wrong with your computer, then tech support goes, well, give me a minute, let me go into your computer?
No, this is not like that at all.
Almost.
No. Okay. This is,
Keep going, girl.
You know, they're like, okay, I'll go, and then you see them,
You
and they're
can
on
see
the,
them moving.
yeah, you see their thing moving.
okay. This is in Docs, the document is on the drive. This person is working on a document on the drive. This person is working on the document in Drive. That person isn't going into your computer. What you're talking about technical support is this person has access to your computer. You've opened up a port and they now use the internet to get into your computer. And they can be doing anything with your files. They could be downloading while they're talking to you about doing A, they could be copying your files onto their machine. Okay. Collaboration means the document is out there, you're working on it, I'm working on it, we can see each other doing it in real time. Okay. And you can have a lot more people. So when you call tech support, that's like one-on-one, right?
Oh, okay.
Okay. With Docs, it could be 5, 6, 7 people. It looks the same only in the sense that someone over here is typing and you see your screen change, but really they're two different things.
Okay, so they're typing on a document, they're not in my actual computer.
Correct.
They don't
It's
go to
like
my
the difference
settings
between,
page and my
Yeah.
configurations and things like that.
it's the difference between pants and underpants. Okay, they're both pants. Okay, Just because you can see them type on your screen, you see what they do, it's not the same. But that's a good point for everybody to get. Collaboration in the sense that we're talking about is they're not on your computer, they're on they're looking at the same document you're looking at in real time. You're both looking at the same document versus they're on your computer changing your file. So collaboration is really one of the key features of Docs. In Word, how do you collaborate in Word? Like everybody's machine here has Word. How do you collaborate in Word?
Oh, you go to File, and then you go down to Share, go down.
We're talking about Word.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. How do you collaborate in Word?
Can't you make a copy and then post it, like have it, link it to like an email in Google and then, I don't know.
Okay. So the question is, what do you mean by collaborate? Okay. In Word, the way you collaborate is I create a document, I email it to you, you open it up, you make revisions, you send it back to me, and back and forth. It's like ping pong. That's not really collaboration.
It's a very tedious
Yeah.
process.
Okay. In Docs, collaboration means in real time. So there's a little commercial that Google has of Hall & Oates working on the lyrics to a song. And one guy types in the words, and the other guy says, no, I've got better words. And he changes it. And it's done in real time. So this is a much better way to do things if you're working on something together. Like, hey, okay, you want a contract, Joseph? I'm going to give you a contract to do this. Let's work on it together. What's a good time for you? You say, this is a good time for me. I send you the link to the file. I'm on the file, or I'm on the file and I share it with you. I check the little box that says send them an email to know. You get it, you open the document. I can see that you're on it. You show up as a little icon in a different color. And whenever you type, it shows up as a different color. So I know that it's you who did that. And we could be talking on the phone, or we could just be going back and forth. You can change the document. You can also make comments. What does this paragraph mean? And then I could type my answers in there. Or we can just agree to change the document. The benefit is when we're done, versus how it's done today. Okay, Joseph, I'm going to send you a document. I send you the document. I now have to wait for you to open it up and work on it. And then you might type little notes on there. What does this mean? I get it. I get this whole long list of changes or questions. It could be that your questions 6, 7, and 8, if I knew the answers to question 1, 2, and 3, those disappear. They never come up because we're going through it one at a time. But because you had to spend your whole time going through, you came up with questions 6, 7, and 8 that you really didn't need to know, because if you knew the answer to question 1, 2, and 3, 6, 7, and 8 would have made sense. So you have to spend a lot of extra time doing a document in Word. And then I have to go back and my reply will be C answer to question 1, 2, and 3. And then you'll say, oh, okay. And then we'll agree, okay, let's take that out. That's not really a question. So collaboration is a key thing. So when do you have a question about this?
Oh, I thought Word used Centrix, the go-to-meeting.
Okay, Centrix. So once again, you're not talking about Word. That's a third-party software.
Oh,
Okay, that is not part of it. GoToMeeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a different thing. That's a kind of a kludge job. It's a workaround. So now you have to pay money for Centrix for GoToMeeting. You have a monthly subscription just so you can try to work on documents together. All of that is part of Google Docs and it's free. Okay, so that's a good point. Now, you're in your interview. Okay, well, how good do you think you are? Tell me, Eric, how good are you at Word?
I'm not good at it at all. I don't really know anything about it.
Okay, so that's not the right way to answer the question.
Well, I wish I could tell you more.
Okay, next.
Yeah, I get to the next one.
Okay, that took about 32
I'm on
seconds.
my way out the door right now.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so, all right, so who knows how to play ping pong? Okay. How about pool? 8 ball. Okay. All right. So when you're starting out, you just have the simple objective, right? I want to get my balls in the hole and I want that guy to scratch, right? When you get better, you start thinking of, in case I miss, I want to make sure I don't set him up for what?
A shot.
An easy shot. Okay. So when it comes to the interviewing, the beginning amateur level is you answer the question and you don't really think about what I said.
Okay, so
Evidenced by your answer right there. I don't know anything about it.
okay, so
When you get better, you want to set it up. So if you don't give him the answer he's looking for,
I can tell him about docs.
that you set it up that because you don't need to. That's the old way.
Right.
Okay. So, so who else? Marcellus. So we're in the interview and I say, how good are your word skills? Okay. So that's better, but not really good.
Is he going out the door?
Well, maybe, maybe not. That's a step better. Anyone else want to volunteer? Yes, Jesse.
I'd say my Microsoft Word skills are actually really, really good. However, just so you know, I've been introduced to Google Docs, which is probably better. Not only that, it's
Okay,
free.
so here's the 3 problems with that. 1, it was too long. 2, you said introduced. So what that means to me is you don't really know Google Docs either. You know nothing. And then you start out with a negative that you now have to dig out of. So the better answer is to say, I know Docs. I'm competent or I'm qualified in Google Docs. Huh? That's going to create a question in my mind. Google Docs. Wow, what? This guy's really positive about Google Docs. Now I want to know more.
How about I use? Can you say I use?
Well, my question to you was, how good are you at Word? Okay, I just served. I aced it. Eric was, I missed it. Marcellus at least made contact. Okay. Okay, what you want to do is get it back on the other side, ideally in a position that makes it hard for me to respond to, right? So what he's looking for is reasons not to hire you. So if your response comes with any kind of negative energy, I don't know it, I know this other thing, not good. You need to come back positive. I know Docs. I'm really good at Docs. And then you observe and try to read that person's mind of, do they know Docs? It's a lot better than Word. Word is the old way to do things. Docs is completely compatible. It does a lot of things that Word doesn't do, and it's free. And it's easy to use.
Now, are a lot of companies now switching over to Docs and leaving Word behind now?
Well, companies are doing that, but it's like if your business is selling widgets, you want to focus on selling widgets. You don't want to have to say to everybody, okay, we're going to learn how to do something different. It's hard for companies to shift from what they do. Okay. But one of your biggest selling points is, I know the cloud and I can take you to the cloud. You should hire me. I'm going to make you more money or save you money. I know the cloud.
And that's only on Google?
Well, no, everybody has their own flavor of the cloud, but you want to just say, I know the cloud, because it's like cards, right? If you know how to play poker and I say, I have a new game for you, it's called Spit in the Ocean. Have you ever played it? No, but you know how to play poker? Okay, so if you know how to play poker and I say, here's a new game, it's called Spit in the Ocean, it's easy for you to learn how to do it. Okay, we're going to deal 5 cards. Once it goes around one time, one person gets to say spit, I turn that card up, that's wild for everyone. Can you understand that? Okay. Yeah, it's poker. And it's just, here's a little slight variation. You're not going to get 5 cards. I'm not dealing 2 cards up. I'm not doing 1 card up. I'm going to start doing this. We're going to go around and somebody says spit and we turn the next card over and that's wild for everyone. Easy to learn. Okay. If everybody in the company knows how to use Word, it's easy for them to change to docs. Okay. So if you go into a company, it's hard for them to just say, okay, we're going to stop doing this. We're going to do that. But if you hire somebody who knows how to use, so anyway, your question was the cloud. So when we say cloud, we mean Google Cloud. Everybody has a different version of the cloud. If you know how to use the Google Cloud, that's like you know how to use Texas Hold'em. Okay, now we're going to play 5-card draw. That's somebody else's cloud. Once you understand the concept of the cloud, it's easy to learn the Microsoft cloud, the this cloud, the that cloud. It's easy to do. Okay, but we wanted to start by saying, I know the cloud. I can help you. I can get you to your company to the cloud. That's where you want to be. And again, if they ask the question, how are you in Word? How are your Word skills? The best strategy is to come back very positive on what you do know, not give negative energy to what you don't know, and try to cover for what you don't know.
But you see, like in the future, everything pretty much going to Google.
Yeah, but that's not going to help you in your
Right,
job today.
Okay, yeah, I know it's off subject.
Okay, so these are the key features: cost. You know, for a good version of Word, this is 100 Word. You can't just buy Word. Of Office, it's $150 plus. This is better because it's free. Completely free. And this is always being updated. You don't have an old version of Google Docs. They keep updating it. How do you update in Word? You get a new version. Now they have bug fixes along the line too. Like, has anybody here turned their computer off and it says update number whatever? Okay, those are fixes for some other problem. Those are generally not improvements, feature improvements. And in Word, if you don't pay for updates, you're not going to get updates free. You buy a new version. They do have a lot of bug fixes though, or just a little improvement. So the reason we want to focus on docs is because we use it a lot, and everybody here should get in the habit of just a non-thinking response. I need to type something. I need to get something down on paper. I'm going to go to docs first. We start here using what? For taking notes, writing stuff down.
Not white paper?
Our composition
Yeah.
work.
Oh,
Doing it by
sorry,
hand.
Yeah.
Okay, because everybody can write. If you come in with the typing speed of 7, it's hard to take notes by typing. And it's hard to take notes because you're focused more on where are the keys that you can't really hear. But most people are able to take notes by hand and listen at the same time, even though they're not as good. But when you get up to these scores, so you're at 45? Good. What did you start at? Okay, good. Good job. Excellent. So when you get up over 35, you can pretty much take notes right along with what's being said if you don't let typos bother you. You have to be able to ignore having a typo. A lot of people, what happens is they're typing away, they're taking notes, they're typing away. Oops, I made a mistake. I need to go back. I need to stop listening. I need to fix that mistake. Now there's a 10-second, 20-second gap in what was going on. So when you're taking notes, typing, if you're doing things in docs, what you need to do is be able to get in the habit of not letting errors bother you. And that's something that helps you on your typing speed, is focus on speed, not accuracy. In the old days when people had typewriters and you made a mistake, what did you have to do?
Right out.
It was a big deal. It was a lot of work. It's a tremendous amount of work. In typing stuff, they don't really teach you now, hey, you know what, with this word processing software, don't worry about errors. Just go as fast as you can. Don't worry about that.
Don't listen to Mavis Beacon because she wants you to be accurate.
She wants you to be accurate. And my hunch is it goes back, if you look at how long has Mavis Beacon been doing this?
That's because I don't know. So I shouldn't focus on accuracy?
The thing is more accuracy, but my hunch is, well, I have zero doubt that when she started learning to type with a real typewriter, what was drilled into her was you need to be accurate, because if you're not accurate, it's a hassle to fix it. You need to be accurate, especially when they use carbon paper. Okay, what do you have to do if you make a mistake and you have carbon paper?
You'd have to start over, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's not fun. Accuracy was vital. That's how she learned to type. And so if you're a worm in horseradish, the world looks like what? Horseradish. So that's the world she grew up in. Okay. So we use docs because of these reasons here. The only thing is it only does 80% of what you need 80% of the time. That's the only negative.
What are you missing on the, what's the 20%?
A lot.
A lot of.
But
Mavis Beacon are released in 1987 for the first time.
okay, so 1987. So that means she learned to type well before that.
Mm-hmm.
So she was in a pre-internet, pre-word processing stage. Okay. So Word does a tremendous amount of things that Docs doesn't do. Docs does 80% of what you need 80% of the time. Very few people need to do all of the stuff that Word can do. Word has been building on a solid foundation since probably 1985 would be my hunch, 1983 maybe. And they keep adding to it. They don't take away. They just keep adding more and more features and benefits to it, so that anything you can do in 85 you can still do, but you can do a lot of stuff now that you couldn't do in 1985. So they keep adding to it. Docs doesn't do that. So for our purposes, we don't have people becoming legal secretaries. We don't have people becoming administrative assistants for people who work at consulting firms that really need high-level stuff. We don't have that. Our people, it's just basic fundamental stuff. Okay, so any questions about Docs versus Word? Now, the key thing.
Is there any way we could go to words on ours?
Yeah. Yeah, you have Word.
Um,
Everybody has a Word on their machine. So one of the important things to start doing, a habit to get into in the new world, is to save everything. In the old days, efficient people didn't save everything. Why?
Took up too much space.
Exactly. Took up too much space. And eventually gets to be too hard to find things. Because what happens if you have collected in your life the equivalent of file cabinets this high, say 4-drawer file cabinets, 4-drawer file cabinets that go from that wall to that wall. That's all of the information you've ever seen in your life, but it's a piece of paper. What's the problem with that? Takes up a lot of space, but what else? Finding stuff. How do you go about finding stuff? Or how do you go about filing stuff?
Organization of it.
Huh? Okay, so that would mean every time you get a new document, you need to go put it in alphabetical order in whatever file cabinet it was, And eventually that could mean, oops, there's no room in this file cabinet. Now what? Do you just move everything down one file cabinet more? It's a big problem. It's a real big problem. But that's kind of the world virtually everyone in here grew up with, is pieces of paper, organizing pieces of paper. And we all know that it gets to be inefficient and counterproductive to have to keep track of every single piece of paper you have. So now we need to learn to think in terms of, but that's not what reality is today. That was the world we were raised in. We need to take that, put it on the pile and burn it. The new way is you can keep copies of every document you've ever had. How?
Labeling.
Okay, what does that mean, labeling?
Well, the guy said when you do your docs to make sure that you put exactly what it is in your title.
Okay, so that's the file name. Okay, right? So now in the new world, a document is a file. A file could be a piece of paper, it could be a video, could be a picture, could be an audio file. And it's what you call it. That's one way. Is you start with having a name that has some kind of meaning. In the old days, when the computers first came out, you had like 8 characters. The name could only be 8 characters long. Now it can be as long as you want. And then you had to have like an underline between words. You couldn't just hit space. It couldn't be Bob and Sam, Bob space and space Sam. It had to be Bob underscore and underscore Sam. Now you can just type it can be any length file name. So one thing is the file name, and that means you just need to be very consistent in the file name. So when we come to Friday's classes, every week the file names for the different quizzes start the same way. So one thing you can do is have consistent file names. And think in terms of a structure. So when you do things, okay, I put that in that file. So like for Lavoce, every month in Lavoce, we have a folder called whatever month it is, March. And so every file that has to do with anything for Lavoce for March goes where?
In the March
In the March folder, right. And the March folder is inside a folder called what? If it's for Lavoce? Lavoce. Okay, so then if I ever want to find a document 10, 15 years from now that has to do with Lavoce,
You got it. Was it?
where do I go?
You go to that-
Lavoce folder,
Yeah, to that
March.
date.
then I would go
March,
to
that
the
year.
year and the
Yeah,
month,
year.
and it would be in there. Another reason we use Google is because Google is the leaders in search. It's been more money creating search algorithms. And every app, every Google app we have has that search bar at the top. So you don't have to just search by file name. You can search by what? By what?
Website.
By the contents of the file. Okay, you can do those things too, but you can search by the contents. But the easy thing to do is create a folder system so that you have a hierarchy. So again, there's the Lavoce stuff, and in the Lavoce stuff is a folder for every month. And in that monthly folder, I have separate folders. What could be a folder? So we have Lavoce. And then there's some folders inside of there. Okay, and so I said month, right?
Mhm.
So we have monthly folders. Now what's inside the monthly folder?
You can maybe have a subject matter
Or
or something
content.
like that.
Right, so I have one folder called artwork.
Oh,
What goes in that folder?
artwork.
Right. I have a folder called stories. Okay, now that
You can even break that
Has
down into
other
another
folders.
folder, yeah.
that have the person's
Fiction,
name.
non-fiction.
So all of the writers have their own folder.
Oh,
So under stories, there's a folder that is for Richard Scotty, and a folder for, everybody has their own folder in there because I want it to be simple. Then there's a folder for advertisers and a feature story. Okay. So we have separate folders in there, but so in my mind, all I need to do is go to where's the April or where's the March La Voce, and if I need to find a piece of artwork for that, it'll be in there. And it will be in February. If it's the same artwork, it will be in all of them because I don't have time in the future to go back and say, okay, where's the picture of Dominic Gentile? What folder is that in? Oh God, that must have been December of 2014. I don't want to do that. I just want to keep it every month. So I want to go from this folder here. So what will I do in April? Inside of this folder here, this is the month. So for April, what do I do? What will I do in April? I have the March folder that has all of these stories. What will I do for April?
You need to create the April folder
you would
first.
have like.
How do I-
maybe
what's
a
the one
table
way
of
to do that?
contents, what's in that? Or-
So what I'll do is I'll create a folder and then I'll copy all of these folders over. So now I have 2 copies. But then I'll delete the stuff I don't need. So in April, I don't need the March story, right? I don't need the March story. I don't necessarily need all of the March advertisers, but I might. But since I made a copy, it's already there. And the fundamental idea is, in the old days, we had to keep getting rid of stuff because we'd accumulate too much, right? In the new days, we don't have to worry about how much stuff we have. We just have to be able to figure out how to find it. And the ultimate backup is search. I just type in Dominic Gentile. And if I have 15 gigabytes of stuff, it's going to go through all of those and find all of the folders that are called Dominic Gentile. And it'll take me, just a little bit of time to be able to see his thing. Last year at this time in Google Drive, you could only see the names. Now you can change it so you can see what's in the file. So you see a little picture. So if I say Dominic Gentile and 50 different files come up, I don't have to wonder, well, which is the picture I'm looking for? I just have to click the button. That looks like, as opposed to that. Last year, there was only this. List all of your files. You had to open it. This, I can click over to that. It shows me, put on the screen, all of the pictures of Dominic Gentile. So it makes it easy. So the point I want to drive home before we get into the details of docs is save everything. Oh, I also have a folder in here called old. So if people send me a Word file, I get an email, they say, here's my story, and they do it in Word. I save it into stories by their name. So let's say this is Bob. I take his Word doc, I put it in here. I open it up as a Google Doc. And then later, then I convert it to Bob Doc. Then later, I take this file and I move it into my old folder. And that's the one I say, this is the actual thing he sent me. This is the Word file he sent me. I didn't change it at all. So in case there's any dispute I go back in here into old, and that's what he sent me. Also, what goes into old is I have my first version of the thing as a doc, the doc file. And as I'm going through cleaning it up, I'll create other versions. So one of the problems with La Voce is people are supposed to send 900 words. Let's say a guy sends 1,200 words. Page only holds 900. What do I do? I have to edit it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the original I put down here under old. It's off away. I don't touch it. I'm not going to look at it unless I need to. I now have my Google Doc, and I'm going to start editing the first time I change it, and it's ready to go out. I'm going to make copy and call it like version 1B, v.1b, v1. I start with v1a, then I go to v1b, v1 whatever, and then I'll do version 2a.
What is that? The editing process? you're
As
going-
I edit.
Yeah.
Now in Docs, you don't really need to do this. This is kind of a lingering thing for me of how I did Word. Because in Docs, you just change it. You can always go back to a previous revision. You can always go back in that same document to previous versions of it. But I do it this way. So every time I start making changes, I'll save it, copy as, and I'll rename it like V1B.
Docs also tells you
Then
last
I'll
time
take,
that you edited
yeah.
also.
then I will take
It does, yeah.
1A and I'll move 1A to old. So at the end, this file, this folder, the old folder has a lot of stuff in there. Most of it I never need to look at. I'm not going to care about. It's just in case. I'll do it. But so what we need to do when we're using Docs, we'll close on this. When we're using Docs, what we need to do is think in terms of I need to save every document because space isn't a problem. Finding things isn't really a problem because I can go up to search. But if I start out by giving you a proper good name and I have a folder structure, then I can deduct where I should be able to find these folders. And here, what are the 3 basic folders you should have when you're in this school?
Employment,
Work,
Employment.
Employment.
School, and personal.
well, work and employment, let's say those are the same. Work, school, and your personal file, which I generally will refer to as home or personal. So you have your personal stuff, your work stuff, and your school stuff. Now in your school stuff, can you have other folders? Like what?
Remember this?
White papers,
Typing,
type,
yeah, TED Talk.
notes, yeah.
Google Apps.
You can have all kinds of other folders. And you just need to have a way to quickly get there. Okay, so wait, let's see, I have to do something or I did something. Was that work, school, or home? That was school. Okay, good. What was the subject in school? It was typing. Okay, all I need to do is go to school, go to the typing file folder, and either I'm going to know what it is or I'll do a search just in that folder. So it'll be fast.
Now, is Word able to do the same thing?
Your Word is able to do the same thing, but it's not online collaborative.
Right. Okay.
It's wherever your machine is.
Right.
Okay, so wherever you save those,
Right.
that's where they are.
Yeah.
So you might save it at work and then you get one of these, right? What's this?
flash drive.
Yeah, okay, you get one of these and I back up what's on my computer. I carry this around, but what if I lose this?
You're screwed.
Right. Okay, I shouldn't do this anymore, but it's hard to break old habits.
I got one too.
This is not the efficient way to do things.
So what y'all do, you had the Microsoft Word or whatever?
Yeah. Okay, but now with Drive, that we could save everything to Drive.
Yeah.
So
Go
I
to any
kind of
computer.
use that. This is kind of why I use this, because it's easy just to save a Word file to here, then go into Drive and save it to Drive, because Word doesn't make it easy, doesn't enable you just to save to your Drive.
So on this Word, it had resume and it had some documents and how to fill them out. If I did it on this computer, this is the only place I can.
If you saved it to that computer, yeah. Okay, everyone, it's break time.
You- yeah.